So if one was to put the infrastructure for livestock in there and do the whole value chain development for livestock, I'm definitely sure in a short time they will be sorted. If I know they like drinking Malo and all that, but once that value chain is sorted, they will be the richest. The eaters will be lining outside Karamoja to say, please buy our millet, buy our sorghum. Yeah. So for me, I think we should listen to those people. Wherever there is hunger, we should go and see how they have survived and see how we can develop that in order for them to survive better.
Thank you so much, Honorable. Our question today is, what do you think you could do that you may not be doing now in order to contribute to ending
hunger? The role I have given to myself is advocacy.
Yes.
And I admit, while I'm advocating, there are some areas, because like the one I've just talked about, I'd have loved to say a bit more about it. But then in advocacy, one has to be very careful. You first have your facts and figures, data, then you advocate. Unfortunately, these days, it is becoming difficult to get data which is relevant. Well, sometimes you find data being quoted from 2017, 2018. I mean, this is 2022. That is one. Two, when you go to UBOS, they are my friends, and I like the fact that they are doing what they are doing. But when they tell you to go to their website, that is one of the most confusing websites anybody can send you to. And I know I tell people, I'm a little bit educated, but I find it so difficult to use. So for whose consumption is that information? They make it so difficult to to consume that information. So what am I doing which I could have done in order to contribute? I could have advocated better, but I need that information and data. Pregnant women, because you find them here and you see them. Then you also, when you go to the postnatal, when they bring their children for vaccination, you will see them being some of these centers, and you find this.
Conflict, climate change, poverty, and inequality. To what extent have the world's actions directly responded to these drivers? Why or why not? Give examples.
You know, at the end of the day, every community is responsible for itself. There is no, even when you look like a World Food Program, even those, everything narrows down to the community. So, for me, irrespective of who is doing it, what I see is what is happening in the community. That is why earlier I was asking, do we have a national program? Because if, for example, you have a program in a district, one district surrounded by other districts which are a desert of that program, even the effect you are trying to get in this district will be washed away, because whatever little you are putting in is being shared far and beyond your plans. So when you ask what has the world done, okay, in quite a number of cases the world has seen, the world has talked about it, but at the end of the day, my question would be, what has the government done? That is the national government. Then we go down to the local government. What have they done? During the earlier years of Uganda, we used to have very powerful local governments where every parish, for example, had food security. Part of the responsibility of the local government was to ensure food security, was to ensure soil security. It was mandatory to make sure that you do not have soil erosion. The world is not going to come and look after your little granary or the little soil from your village going into that little river, which goes into the bigger river, which ends into the bigger river, and we all send our fantastic soil to Egypt. So what has the world done? In quite a number of cases, the world has really been a disservice to Uganda. Because, for example, when we say we are now going democratic, in a country where there has never been democracy before, and neither do we teach democracy as a major lesson, so that parents of the children did not enjoy democracy. The children have never seen it happen. In the schools where they don't teach them democracy. And those are the children we put in charge of parishes and local government, LC3, that's the sub-counties, and we expect them to be in charge of food security, soil erosion, and all that, when they don't have an idea what you are talking about. They don't have the authority anyway. So, what has the world done? Uganda has tried to do what the world wants, and in the process, we have lost a lot of our culture and our confidence. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Honorable. Now we're going to look at the leadership part in regard to ending hunger.
In the next 4 minutes, because I've got to leave.
In the next 4 minutes, I'll try. Identify one organization, association, or group that you are aware of that is truly in your mind doing things differently in a way that allows them to make gains where others may not. What is unique about their approach, and why do you believe it has been successful?
How big must it be?
Pardon?
How big must it be?
You're giving a natural thing.
Okay. No, my example is not national. It's a school.
Yes.
In fact, it is schools. Currently, we have schools which have gone into agriculture education. The curriculum of Uganda has changed, but these schools have taken it far and beyond the curriculum. There's a junior school called MST, Junior Academy, and for them, as soon as your child arrives, in fact, when you take your child for interview and you go to see the school, they already tell you that here, whatever we teach, we use the Uganda primary school curriculum, but everything is hinged in agribusiness. So your child will actually be digging, your child will actually be feeding pigs, and so on and so forth. Now, coming from an agriculture country, in my view, nearly every primary school in Uganda should be doing what those people are doing. When you go, I've got a granddaughter there, and the other day we were in the garden, and there is a weed called clover. And so I uprooted it, and she said, "Grandma, you are just wasting time. For as long as the root has remained below, it will never die. If you want to kill it, we have to dig it up properly. And now that we have uprooted it, I won't see where it is in order to get it out." I mean, this is a 6-year-old. I'm like, wow. So for me, that is what I wish for Uganda.
Thank you very much. Where does accountability for ending hunger lie, and where should it lie, and how can it be strengthened?
Really, all accountability lies with government, because if you are in leadership, you cannot just enjoy the fruits and not the accountability. So the buck stops with the government, starting with the local government and then the national government. Yeah.
Thank you so much. We are almost there, Honorable. If you could make one recommendation to someone in power that you think would allow us to achieve zero hunger, what would you recommend, and
That recommendation should actually go to the Prime Minister. My recommendation should actually go to the Prime Minister, because we have got a nutrition policy which I think is in the Prime Minister's office. Because for me, the only way I can be happy that we have dealt with hunger is when nutrition is taken care of. Because in quite a number of cases, we have supplanted quality and replaced it with quantity. For example, whenever there is a disaster and people need assistance, they are given some maize flour and some beans. Certainly that is not a balanced diet. And for as long as the body does not get what it needs, for me, I call that hunger. That is why in a number of cases you'll find that the pregnant women will be craving this and craving the other. Women who are rich, we never know what they crave because everything is there. So for me, my recommendation would go to the Prime Minister to say, since we are an agriculture country and we eat what we produce, we are even producing for the region, can we base our production, our plans on the nutrition? The end should justify why we are doing it and how we do it.
Thank you very much. Our last four are basically on action. On a scale of 1 to 10, we are almost there. On a scale of 1 to 10, how well do the global community's current approaches or investment to ending hunger address underlying inequalities? How could this be better addressed? On a scale of 1 to 10.
I think I would give a 3. Basically because I don't believe that is the responsibility of the global. That should be a community responsibility. So we are misplacing the global approach to do what the local community should be doing.
Thank you very much, Honorable. And what would you think we need to do better?
For me, what we need to do better is empower those communities. Unfortunately, the word empower has been overused. Whenever one goes to a community, even if these people they did not go to school or whatever, the first thing to do, like I said, is look at what they are doing, how they have been surviving, look at who is the leader, and find a way of giving more resources to that leadership, to the system they have, because in some cases the systems are there. They may not be what we know, especially if we are very educated. In fact, in quite a number of cases, that is the mistake we make. When you take a very educated person to deal with the illiterate. In my life, some of the most difficult people to deal with are people with doctorates. Because when you get there and you ask a simple question like, what shall we eat today? Then they will analyze everything. When you talk to this illiterate, she will say, let us have posho and beans because I've already picked the greens and you are good to go. But with a doctorate, oh my God. Because I've got a few of those friends. The way they answer their questions.
Yes.
So we misplace resources.
Thank you. I am cognizant of your time. What are 2 to 3 key approaches or actions that we know work well to reduce hunger? What limitations have they faced, and what support will be needed to make them better?
Ask the question again.
What are 2 to 3 key approaches or actions that we know work well to reduce hunger? What limitations have they faced, and what support will be needed to do them better?
Yeah, one of them is, of course, technology.
Yes.
But the issue with technology is sometimes this technology has arrived at a time when there is a drought in human resource support. For example, around 2016-17 there was a lot of emphasis on irrigation. And actually quite a number of people went and bought this irrigation equipment. But unfortunately, as we were going around Uganda, you found all this equipment lying on the veranda. And I remember one time we were somewhere up north, I think West Nile, And this head of the household got out his equipment. They had to call a certain young man from across the village to come and demonstrate that the thing works. But when we went to the garden, where the spraying actually, the irrigation actually happened, I mean, you could look and see that this was just a demonstration for us, the visitors. But the cassava and the other crops were drying. So in other words, these people got the technology minus the human resource to show them how to use it.
Thank you very much, Honorable.
My pleasure. See you another time.
Our second last, Honorable, please. Our second last. What are 2 to 3 key approaches or actions not working well to reduce hunger?
Like I said earlier, trying to change people's habits. For example, turning Karamajong people from being pastoralists to being arable farmers. For me, that's a no-go. That is one. Then 2, when the way we teach our children, in class we teach them about diet, we teach them about agriculture, but when they go to the dining room, you know, because monkey see, monkey do. So for me, those 2.
The last one, Honorable, before you go, how has COVID-19 changed our understanding of hunger? To what extent do you believe that COVID-19 has or has not transformed our way of working to be more resilient against future crises, and why?
What I know, the rest I don't know, but what I know for sure is that many Ugandans have finally realized that their health is in their hands. Even those young people who used to think that they can go eating this and the other, now will now tell you they have now calmed down. Even if they arrive and have cooked katunkuma, they are like, yeah, we hear it works. Many of them used to skip fruits. These days, quite a number of young people will tell you we start with this because they say if you eat them, you won't get COVID-19. Yes. So, while I'm sorry COVID-19 killed a number of people and a number of businesses, at least it woke up Ugandans to realize that they are in charge of their health. That is 1. 2, to decide to do something about it.
Thank you so much, Honorable.
Kaweli.
Action against hunger.
Kaweli ya kuonana.
Wait for me, Honorable. You cannot talk like that. You've not had our tip. We need to replace your fuel and your time. Let's start when you're done.
Okay.
To this meeting. My name is Mariam Akiro. I work for Action Against Hunger as the Advocacy and Communications Coordinator. Action Against Hunger is a global movement on ending hunger. And this focus group discussion is in response to our upcoming Global Summit on Together Against Hunger. We work in about 40 plus countries, and we are generating voices from all the continents of our operation: Africa, Asia, Latin America, and the rest. So when we're organizing a global summit, it's always important to generate the voices of eminent persons, passionate ladies and gentlemen in the area of interest. I bring you greetings from our CEO, Dr. Charles Ouba, our technical team that is leading the preparations of the Together Against Hunger Global Summit, and also from our country director, Alva Simeni, who could not be able to join us. And also want to extend our sincerest appreciation to Food Rights Alliance for supporting us to convene this important event. This activity aligns with the aspirations of the Right to Grow project. That is a 5-year project funded by the Dutch Government Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and a project that is focused on ending stunting under 5. So today we are here to hear from you, to hear the opportunities, the challenges, and key recommendations that we can document for our country, Uganda, that will contribute to ending hunger. I have 12 questions. We will first be visually, and then we'll look at the leadership. Then we'll also go on to look at the action. And it's going to be a very natural discussion. When I ask, on my left is my colleague June, the head of programs with Rights Alliance. He's the co-facilitator and also the note taker for the day. On my right is Shifra and Elizabeth. They work with our finance team. We have the UBC team, the journalists from the UBC, who are helping us with the videography, because we want to have these voices verbatim to be sent to HQ, and we have Fred, who is the photographer of the day. So, when I ask the question, before you respond, you're going to tell us your name, you're going to tell us your position, you're going to tell us the organization you're working.
Pardon?
Your name, your position, and the institution you're representing. Because it's a focus group discussion, we will all answer question number 1. The person who answers question number 1 last, and then the person question number 2, the person who starts, so that we give the other person to catch his or her breath. Is that arrangement okay with us?
Yes.
Or wherever we be ready?
The last instruction was, if she
So
answers last,
let's first for now hold silence so that we're very orderly, so that they don't vibrate. Yes. Thank you very much. To clarify, I'll ask question number 1.
Okay.
You will introduce yourself.
Yeah.
Your name, your position, the organization you represent.
Okay.
And you proceed to answer
question.
that question.
Yeah.
If the next person wants me to repeat the same question number 1, I will be able to repeat so that that person takes on, and then we move in that order. Then we'll go to question number 2, question number 3, 4, 5.
That,
And then, yeah.
the last instruction
The
was,
last instruction was,
yes.
when the last person completes to respond to question number 1, it means the second question will come back to the respondent number 1, so that she can't start because she's catching the breath.
Yeah.
Or whoever will be ready to take on the next question. Is that fine? Are we ready to go? Thank you very much, ladies. Our question number 1 is, despite a decade-long international commitment to ending hunger by 2030, the Ending Hunger Report found that 90% of survey respondents expect the number of people experiencing hunger to increase over the next 5 to 10 years. Despite a decade-long international commitment to ending hunger by 2030, what do you think are the main drivers of this outlook? Or what are the barriers to realizing the commitment? I repeat, despite a decade-long international commitment to ending hunger by 2030, the Zeroing on Ending Hunger report found that 90% of survey respondents expect the number of people experiencing hunger to increase over the next 5 to 10 years, despite a decade-long international commitment to ending hunger by 2030. What do you think are the main drivers of this outlook? Or what are the barriers to realizing the commitment? up your hand when you're ready to answer.
Okay. Good morning. Thank you for that question. I'm Ruth Nabagala. I work with PELAM Uganda, that is Participatory Ecological Land Use Management, and I lead the Agriculture Market Development Department. Your question is, I will agree with your question, I will agree with your statement. And the main drivers, I believe, are first of all, for the case of Uganda specifically, the population is increasing at a very, very high rate. So the plans and approaches that were made maybe 5 years ago were not in anticipation in anticipation of the population and how fast it's growing. So that is one of the drivers. So we need to revise our approaches every responding to the population and the growth of the population. That's number one. Number two is the issue of ensuring self-reliance. We won't focus on thinking the solution to solving hunger is out there, is going to be solved by different countries bringing help to Uganda, supporting Uganda, but the help is with us. And the help is with the people who are likely to become hungry. Those are the farmers. What do we need to do? We need to ensure self-reliance. We need to ensure that the farmer themselves can produce on their own food that they will eat today, tomorrow, and in the future. What does that bring on? It brings issues of ensuring that everything around the farm is supporting their production. That's when I bring in agroecology. That's where agroecology supports self-reliance. I'm going to use the current issues with Russia, where we are saying Russia is the main supply, or supplies 30% of the fertilizer. Imagine now we can't receive the fertilizer because we've been depending on Russia. Isn't that hunger? Imagine if a farmer can produce their own fertilizer, their own inputs on their own farm. They take care of themselves. Those will be some of the issues that will support this situation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ruth. Over to you, Florence.
Thank you so much. My name is Florence Shemerire. I am a research associate with Makerere University School of Public Health, and I am also a public health nutritionist. I am also currently the acting president of the Nutrition Society of Uganda. So in response to your question, allow me to use this analogy that the fish rots from the head. So number one, as far as nutrition is concerned, we don't have a policy. Way back in the 80s, there was a draft food and nutrition policy. It is the one that we still read, it is the one that we still use. However, that was overridden by the first Nutrition Action Plan for Uganda, which expired in 2016. And then we have a new one, a new action plan. But much as we have an action plan for nutrition, which handles both undernutrition and overnutrition, we don't have a policy. So whoever comes to Uganda to support us to deal with undernutrition does what they want. If it's, let's say, organization A got funding from, let's say, World Vision International, and then organization B got funding from, let's say, Care America, so they are going to follow what those donors want to do, what suits the donors other than what suits the country. So when we are addressing malnutrition in the country, the context matters a lot. So much as the donor has their own interests, us on the ground need to also flaunt the context within which this donor is sponsoring this organization to do nutrition work. So the other issue is that we may have policies or we may have action plans. And implementation is meant to be multi-sectoral, so we are supposed to partner. Each sector should do something regarding nutrition, but the implementation is also messed up, and sometimes we don't know who is doing what, and sometimes we have sectors claiming other sectors' work. So it is really something that we need to iron out. The other thing is, I think that also falls into governance. As far as governance is concerned, or as far as like the infrastructure support is concerned, where we have leadership, governance, health in all policies, and all those tiers, we don't even know who is accounting to us,
Yes.
to the target population. I have never seen nutrition accountability reports. Who asks for them anyway? Yeah? But I have seen statistics in reports, in UDHS reports. But you know, there is a lot that international organizations have invested into dealing with hunger or malnutrition in Uganda. Who does the accountability? Where are those accountability reports? So I'm going also to comment a little bit on the overweight and obesity bit. We have, our country has a liberal market, operates a liberal market. In other words, investors come here, they can bring any kind of food in Uganda. And as a result, they don't respect our food sovereignty. So we are transitioning from eating the traditionally rich food to the processed nutrient poor foods at the same time. While we have part of the population growing, getting into overweight and obesity and all the non-communicable diseases that follow those, we also have a population that is growing more and more hungry. Yeah? So I think those are issues that we need to deal with as civil society, so that we can actually involve also researchers, and we produce local data that show our context within which we should program for nutrition in Uganda. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Florence. Back to you again. As the academia, as the acting president for the Nutrition Society of Uganda, we know that there's hidden hunger due to nutrient deficiency, and then of course hidden hunger due to the reality of lack of food. As the academia and the Nutrition Society of Uganda, what can you tell the world there about this in the context of Uganda?
In the context of Uganda, so remember I hinted on governance. One thing that puzzles all of us is, why would parts of the country have enough food and excess actually, and that kind of food cannot be shared with other parts of the country that are not agriculturalists or that are facing hunger? That is one question for us to deal with as a society.
So the question of ensuring food security through the provision of food reserves that you and I grew up knowing. I no longer see the granaries in Teso.
True.
I see them in a few places.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Agnes Chirabo, you are a food rights, a passionate and selfless committed food rights activist. May we hear from you? Thank you.
Thank you. Agnes Kirabo is my name. And I head the Secretary for Food Rights Alliance here in Uganda. And we champion food and nutrition. We are driven to see a world free from hunger and malnutrition, and we believe that world is possible. Now, the global hunger and malnutrition is driven by a number of factors. We all have to agree that our food system is exposed to the social, economic, natural, or call it environmental, and conflict shocks. So the people that are at war, definitely hunger is in there. The disruptions in the economics, like the disruptions that we saw during COVID-19, are due so many people in the caves of hunger and malnutrition. We have lived with the dynamics of climate change, and we keep talking about it. but the responses that are coming in, the remedies that are being forced. Anyway, the issue is that the climate shocks are also a driver of that. I talked about the social transitions as the world is urbanizing and people are changing their food choices. That limits the diets and the food compositions, and then they are driven. Some go through that crack. The other driver is the commoditization of food and the food-related aspects, the resources that bring food. Land is commoditized. The water resources are getting commoditized. The inputs, everything that we could look at to see food on the plate is commoditized, including food itself. Once something becomes a commodity, the highest bidder will have it, and the least privileged may not have it. In some parts of the countries, and especially in the urban areas, globally we know that the most nutritious foods is very expensive, that people cannot afford it. The health diets are very expensive, the poor cannot have it. And yet, in the other parts of the world, the production systems that give healthy diets are being condemned because the commoditized enterprises are getting into the food system. So the commoditization of food and resources to produce food is also another driver. The financing mechanism to end hunger and malnutrition are not clarified. We have to speak to the financing mechanism and the funding to end hunger and malnutrition. Specifically, we need to interrogate the basic mechanisms. You cannot look at the budgets. You cannot look at the budget of Uganda and see how much is funding to end hunger in this country. Even in the programming, look at now the championed program, the Parish Development Model. They assume food security and nutrition at outcome, and you cannot see the interventions. You cannot see the funding. You get into the sector budget for agriculture. Food and nutrition remains at outcome, getting down. So the financing mechanism, either at national but also at global level, is something that is really driving so many people in hunger. The last 2 or 3 things that I can talk about, the globalization of the food system, thinking that everybody will eat rice or must eat rice, or everybody should eat wheat, and therefore everybody is eating wheat, and if there is a wheat deficit, so the definition is hunger. And you see that all efforts are driven into that direction, and we are losing our diversity and the diverse composition of our diets because the food system is being globalized. The data deficiency. We actually do not know where the hungry are. We can't touch them, so we cannot intervene. The best example of the data deficiency is the lockdown in 2020, the COVID lockdown in 2020, when government assumed, which was true, that there are really people that are going to need food, but they didn't know where these people are because we don't have data. We don't even have the vulnerability registers. We don't know the hungry, where they are. Just like we don't know where the excessive production is because we do not have data. So that is also a very big driver because those that are responsible cannot intervene in quickly. The absence of the social protection mechanism is also another driver. Come what may, at one point T, in every country, there will be people who need food where the governments need to feel to meet their obligations to fulfill. But we don't have the social protection mechanism. Uganda is being referred to as the food basket in the region, but we don't have the basket. We do not have the food reserves, the national food reserves. Actually, currently, they are referred to as the strategic reserves. They are not even, they are strategic, but we do not have the food reserves. And what did we see? When government wanted to give people food, in the total lockdown during the total lockdown in 2020. It had to go to the private sector, out competing even the few that could feed themselves, because the big buyer had happened and is buying at an extreme price. But because of the data, the complexity of it, the government itself didn't even know that in the country there were no beans. We had over-exported the beans prior to that period in time. So we never had the reserves, and we ended up giving people things that we are regretting up to this point in time. I need to finally talk about two things. Urbanization. Uganda, and indeed globally, Uganda, we are urbanizing at a rate of 5.7%. We are declaring new cities every other financial year. Every village is becoming a municipality and a town council of some kind. And these ones are being developed to eat into the arable production areas where the women were growing their food. They're now going to grow it under conditions of the urban areas. But also secondly, we are attracting a vast population in these public areas, urban areas, that require food. And we need to ask ourselves, what are the people in the urban areas going to eat? When we are eating into the arable production lands, we do not have the data systems, we do not have the social protection, but we are urbanizing. And we are urbanizing with a poor population of the young people that will need definitely to eat, but they do not even have the incomes to buy the food, and they have left the production to an average farmer, a woman who is 50 years old. Finally, I wanted to end with the governance. I think globally, we haven't accepted that hunger and malnutrition is a governance issue. And so it should be debated and regulated and governed as a governance issue. My colleague here has talked about the issues of policies and laws and so on. We have a policy. And if you look at the detail of that policy, it's a very good policy that has not been ably given or investment done to see its implementation. The coming of the Nutrition Action Plan 1 was one of the attempts to implement this policy. It's called the Food and Nutrition Policy of 2003. It talked about so many things, including the multi-sectoral things that we are championing now, like we are the proprietors of them. They are written in that policy. But that policy talks about something significant, which is related to funding. It proposes that we must have an institution that is being held accountable. When the country goes hungry, somebody must be answerable. There should be somebody who plans for our food. There should be a person who plans just in case of a calamity like we're in COVID-19 and is prepared. There must be somebody with strategies that are being implemented annually and financed that is coordinating all the stakeholders that are playing a role in the food system. We do not have an institution. So we do not have that organ or that person to be held accountable. So food remains scattered everywhere. How do we get an institution? An institution comes with a legislation. We have a law on everything, including oil that was found the other day and is getting finished tomorrow. We have a law on oil and gas. We do not have a law on food, and therefore we do not have an institution. My organization and colleagues that we work with, we have engaged the Ministry of Finance on issues of financing food and nutrition. The previous PST, the Secretary to the Treasury, told me twice that, Chirabo, I'm listening and I'm hearing and I'm understanding, but I don't allocate money to shadows. I allocate money to institutions that should be accountable for that money. So the governance system, and we need from all levels, from the global to the regional to the national levels, start appreciating hunger and malnutrition as a governance issue, because in the presence of hunger, we see social, economic, political, and security instability. I submit.
Thank you so much, our champion of food rights. Taking on from there, I am coming to you, the only man, Mr. Chimera, a food rights activist
The consumer.
and champion of consumers. The man's voice in the room. Thank you.
Thank you very much, colleagues. Chimera Henry. I'm the team leader with Consumer Center, Consent, and I also happily and proudly the chairperson of Food Rights Alliance, FRA Uganda, where we champion issues to do with food. On the subject matter, I would like to start and say consumers are orphans. Consumers are foodless because there is no leadership to deliver consumers the adequate, nutritious, safe food they need. And I would like to look at this, and this is not only at national level, it is at global level. Food, which is the foundation of human health, is being ping-ponged as a table tennis game. All solutions are sent from the lack of political will to profit. Then the profit people go to the negotiation rooms to come up with policies and waivers that will give them the leverage in the market. So that's why I'm saying the consumers globally are orphans. They do not have the duty bearers with them. So that is how I would wish to start by saying that what you have said and what the Action Against Hunger is trying to do is valid. But the vagaries of the food table tennis are out there wide open to look for the loopholes and gaps to increase the stock exchange. The stock exchange is not, food stock exchange isn't in Uganda, it is global, and for a few food commodities, which is unfortunate. The status quo is aggravated further by aspects I'm going to share from a consumer perspective. But they are all related to what my colleagues have raised. They are political, they are legal, they are technological, they are social. Consumers who have got a diverse cultural perspective are conditioned to a mindset of a few, which that is the decision taken by those on the food table tennis. The political or the duty bearers passing on the ball to the businesses who are the stock exchangers who will decide for us and tell us what to do and even tell us that you are doing peasantry agriculture which is supposed to sustain us and which sustains us as a country. What we export comes in from the small family farmers who put together the little they grow to get the big aggregated volumes that we export. And then we look at them and call them names. If the investment we wish to put in the mechanized agriculture, the same effort was given to the family farmers, we will have the narrative of these high percentages locally, regionally, and globally would go down. If the finances that are put in inorganic agriculture, the efforts were put in organic agriculture, there will be a greater food sovereignty, healthy diets, safe foods. So having said all that, the drivers that are leading us in all this, from a consumer perspective, Our needs are based on, we like access. But this access of food with this food table tennis, lead us not to have enough access. Where policy and the duty bearers they lack the political will, they want to use food as a bargaining chip to muzzle and reduce the civic space. So where access is challenged, the consumer will go hungry. But when the access that is on the food table tennis arrives, the question is the food safe? And all the issues that we are discussing about access of safe food, which is nutritious, it is grown through a system that values the environment in which we live, values the human health, and reduces our production and productivity. Hunger will never stop if the food we consume is not safe. So, all these issues as we go into this summit, access and food safety through sustainable agri-food systems is very key. The other aspect, when you look at all of those drivers, that is also leading to hunger, it brings in our civic space. It is reducing and is reducing inclusivity. As we discuss all these, we need to be inclusive. The farmers and consumers' voices we need to say that this is the kind of food that is nutritious we need on our table. Not the food table tennis to tell us you have to eat this. So inclusivity is very key. To realize hunger as we move towards the Hunger Summit, the food systems have to be sustainable. All drivers, all facilitators of food have to talk to each other. We have to talk to the environment. We have to talk to the social aspects. Food sovereignty is social. It is not government. It is us, the people, the consumers, talking to the farmer. That is where sustainability comes in, where we say the food you're giving us is taking away my nutrition, my health, because it has got foodborne diseases. So if food has got foodborne diseases, it isn't safe. Hunger is guaranteed. So as we discuss all these, information, education, the abuse that is happening to the food systems is due to lack of information. It's due to lack. Extension service provision is a facilitator, is a driver to help reduce hunger. But if there is no information, if there is no education and empowerment of family farmers, that means all aspects of growing nutritious, healthy, sustainable diets won't be there. So as we deliberate in all of these, we need the political will. We need to have the technologies, whether it is indigenous technology, it needs to be promoted to facilitate. Then we will need to have investments that will increase to look at the rural and urban food systems. Because the majority, as my colleague put it, the majority are getting urbanized. But they are the biggest consumers, the young people. But the volumes of the food they eat is nutrition deficient. It isn't safe. So the productivity of our energetic youth are going to get less energetic, and they are going to get into increasing crime because of hunger and social insecurities. So these are all issues. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chimera. Ms. Maureen, you lead a women's-led organization representing the
dive into the question, the first question I have in my mind, what I always ask myself is that what is our role when it comes to, ending hunger? As in, it starts with you as an individual. As I'm here, what is my role? What am I doing to contribute to the hunger in this world? So for me, that brings out the whole picture of, it starts with me before I even talk about it. But you look at our systems, how they are playing out, and you ask yourself, how can we make agriculture a subject option? Because how can we start embracing, agriculture that is really good for us? Because I'll give an example. When I was in secondary, they will give you a slasher, to go and slash because you have come late. Or you go and dig, we used to have those demonstration gardens at school. When you come late, you go and dig. So what is that we are creating, the mind we are creating behind agriculture? Yet none of us can survive without food. So for me, it goes back to, the policies of the government, that can we try to go back to the roots? If this is our backbone, why don't we ensure that agriculture is compulsory? And let us ensure that all schools have those demonstration farms. But now we are seeing all schools, these storage buildings, they don't have even space where kids can learn from. I'm having my child, she's in P4, but we are there struggling. She wants to see fibrous, roots. Mommy, can I see now? I have to go and walk and get grasses to uproot and show how fibrous roots look like. You see, that some of the things we take them lightly, but there are simple things that we can start with to build that bigger picture that we want to see. The other is for us to see the nexus of the whole hunger, how it's connected to education, the health, and what, because it contributes a lot to everything. Like my colleagues have been, alluding to all this, that everything is interconnected. But we are also missing out bringing the food system, like the food system, who are those within the food system and the chain itself? Who are those? Because my colleagues have been saying, people have to bring food, you have to sell it. But where are you leaving the people who are bringing food to the people in the community here? I think it was in the news or social media, where they're saying we are eating greens that are contaminated and, they are increasing cancer cases. So what are we doing to this? Because they're also part of it, but we are leaving it out. And then we're saying we want to, to promote people to have food and all that. But the people who are doing the agriculture, the majority are women. And we are here always singing the same issue. Women don't have access to land. What are we doing? As government, can we maybe say that we go farmer cooperatives, we give them land, that we can provide this cooperative in Gulu, big land, because the land is there. But who is controlling the land again? That you're saying that if I don't have land, we can, based in our cooperatives, we get the land, we say we are going to grow millet. And then we shall supply that millet, add value to it, and then we supply to our countries or supply to our regions that don't have food. But again, you get back to also still in the same line with access to land. Even if I have land, I might have land which is also not fertile enough, or which doesn't also accommodate the kind of products that I want to put on that land. So we have a database that has, that shows the different soil fertilities, which kind of crops can grow in which regions, because we need some of those. That, for example, I'm in Busia. Busia, these are the best crops to grow. And I know I'll go for that. But because I want to survive, I'll come and put matoke, I'll come and put groundnuts, I'll put everything, which doesn't even yield anything. And at the end of the day, I'm losing. But it also takes us back to our indigenous crops. Where are they? They are disappearing gradually, but steadily. And at the end of the day, we shall go back to beg, like we are doing already. Because we have, my granny used to have that granary, and you would season for planting, you go get your seeds, go and plant. But now I have to have money, which money is also not accessible. So what are we doing? Are we saving ourselves? Are we promoting somebody's strategy already, which they laid? And we are here looking and saying, this is the yield, please go for this. And we are all turning our eyes there. But what happened to the African traditional crop seeds that we had? That in the end of the day, we are glorifying money so much. But we are forgetting that I should have food. I grow food, I'm going to sell the entire food. And in the end of the day, the man I've got cannot even sustain me for a year or for a month. And again, I have to wait for the rain, to pray, God give us rain. But I'm contributing to cutting down the trees. That I will not get the rain, but I don't have access to this information. Tell me that when I cut down trees, then it will also affect the rain patterns. Maria,
Thank you very much. In our subsequent questions, I request that we each spend 1 minute. This is supposed to be a 1-hour video. So, Ruth, I'm coming to you. You say what you want to say, and I bring the question. 1 minute, so that we are able to catch up the 1 hour that is allocated for focus group discussion. Yes, please, Ruth.
Yes, this one has not come up, and I feel it's important that we talk about it.
Please.
And that's access to seed.
Quality
Which are,
seeds.
yes, quality
Access to
seed,
quality seeds.
access to quality seed in a timely manner. I'm going to use an example of my recent.
Actually, Ruth,
yes.
access to quality and conventionally bred seeds for Uganda.
Yes.
Because we are not yet promoting genetically modified seeds.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So that is also
In
a
1
very
minute.
big situation. Yes. And I'm going to use an example. The 1 minute, I'm going to use it for an example. Recently, I was interacting with different farmers who in the last season were supposed to plant seed for marketing by January, February. And when we went in January, February, they said we accessed seed very late. So we were not able to plant. Now, in that season, there was a big gap of lack of seed or lack of production or less production because they access seed very late. What do I encourage? Strengthening the community managed seed systems. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ruth. Picking on from there, colleagues, what would you need to shift in the way the world thinks or operates to achieve zero hunger for everyone for good? Why haven't these shifts happened already? Ruth, what would you need to shift in the way the world thinks or operate to achieve zero hunger for everyone for good? Why haven't these shifts happened already?
Thank you very much. And I think from the submissions of my colleagues, this has already come out. I could only highlight it. They are not listening to the producer, to the person that matters. The person has solutions. The person is trying to communicate the solutions. But the system is not listening to them. Is not listening to what is viable for them to produce and how can they access it. In what format should they access it? What are the policies that will make it comfortable? So this has not happened because the ear is not directed towards the person who matters, the producer, the farmer, the food provider. Once that happens, things will change and the systems will improve.
Thank you very much. Florence, Academia.
There is what we call the food balance sheet. It basically shows the food grown in the country, the food imported, the food that we use for food, for seed, for waste, food wasted, and also animal feed. So when you look at the balance between what the incoming food and the consumed food, you realize that Uganda has excess. But while compiling the food balance sheet, it masks the people that are never reached when this information is being compiled. So it has a lot of limitations. And at global level, Uganda is looked at as a food basket because we have excess on the food balance sheet. So the politician will look at that, the decision maker will look at that, and they'll be like, no, it's not our issue. We can export some of this excess. And that is why we have hidden hunger. We have people that are hungry yet they seem to be happy when they are not happy. So it's something to deal with the government, and maybe we could use the human rights approach to that. I don't know.
Thank
Over
you
to the
very
human
much.
rights people.
Food rights activists, I need in 1 minute, please.
Food is universal, but actually food is not universal. We need context-specific solutions. We need context-specific policies. We need to redeem the policy spaces of our governments. It is not only the civic space that is shrinking, but also our government's policy space to govern us is increasingly shrinking. And I would say if we could achieve that, then we are going to look at our hunger in our own context, because our hunger in Africa may not be the hunger in Europe. It is not the absence of rice and wheat. It may not be the hunger in Italy, because it's not the absence of
Wheat.
the spaghetti.
Sweet.
Yeah. So now seeing how we decentralize and get context specific while we are having the global conversation. A universal conversation is not going to solve specific and context specific hunger issues.
Thank you, Agnes Chimera.
In 1 minute.
And Maureen gets ready. We're going to run a marathon.
Yes, thank you very much. I will just put it to three aspects been alluded to.
Yes.
I will go back to governments. It is political will. If our duty bearers put down their feet and say we are regenerating our successes in food, successes in everything, which we have had in the country like Uganda, and that's why we are called the food basket, though we are a loose end. The other one is sustainable partnerships. These sustainable partnerships are lacking. Cooperatives were our sustainable partnerships as a country, our grandparents, because they came together sustainably and they had cooperatives. And these cooperatives had mutual understanding. That's where the sustainability was. Then lastly, aspects to do with investing in addressing what we are losing to address food loss and waste. And that still goes back to political, because they have got the money. The family farmer hasn't got the money. The consumer hasn't got the money. So it also requires, the food we are losing is so much that it can feed us. Then the aspect of farmer-consumer dialogue to reduce the food footprint. These are going to be very key and they are very important. Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen. Over to you. As
Thank
Lucy put the next question.
Yeah, thank you. For me, I think I would just call all our government to practically decentralize the powers. Why am I saying that? That at the local districts or the local government, let them handle these issues at the local district, because these are the people who understand how their district operates. Instead of the context like Agnes has said, instead of us going blah 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 blah. But again, we should also emphasize civic education. Let it come back, especially from the primary schools. Let it get back. It will enable us also to be patriotic in one way or another, to love our country, but also to embrace that agriculture is our thing for this country.
Thank you so much, Maureen, Ruth, and colleagues. What do you think you could do that you may not be doing now in order to contribute to ending hunger? What do you think you could do that you are not doing now in order to contribute to ending hunger? Thank you.
Okay. Colleagues, could someone begin?
Let me start.
Agnes,
Let me
Agnes,
start.
what do you think you could do that you may not be doing now in order to contribute to ending hunger?
Okay.
That's academia.
Like my colleagues alluded to, Ruth earlier said that the solution is with us. So I have actually tried to take the few documents we have in Ministry of Health to go and educate people at community level. I have done that, and that approach, educating a mother to use what they have at home and balance the meal on the plate on a daily basis and preserve what the excess during the harvest period to use in periods of scarcity. That solved malnutrition in a community called Luka, in two of the sub-counties where we did this intervention. So what we are not doing now is to use what we have. We already have so many documents that are written under Ministry of Health and IEC materials, and they are not reaching the grassroots person, because some of those new districts don't have those documents. Yet at ministry level, all that is sponsored. Why isn't it reaching the grassroots? Thank you.
And it's also not reaching the grassroots because it's in a language that they do not understand.
Okay, so thank you for bringing that up. We got the different manuals and adopted them to the local context. So we had to work with the mothers, the village health team members, the sub-county chiefs, the parish leaders, and we looked at the manuals and got the actual problems at community level at that time and incorporated them into the manuals and used those manuals to educate the mothers so we could solve their issues at that time. So, but if we got down with textbook information, that may not work for the mother. You have to find out what their problem is. You solve their problem through the education.
Thank you very much. And also ensuring that it's not just text.
Yes.
It's pictorial.
Yeah.
Yes, Ruth?
Okay, so since the microphone is here, I could go ahead.
Please.
This is connected to my last response. The solution is with the farmers, with the producers. And if we self-criticize, what am I not doing? I think it's better, it's easier to believe the source than the messenger.
Yes.
So in most cases, at this table, we needed to have 2 or 3 farmers. I'm sure there are farmers who can speak English right now. I'm sure there are farmers who are empowered and everything.
Yes.
So what do we need to do? Listen to the farmer directly, not as the messengers of the farmers. Less at this point, the solutions a farmer is giving is more believable than the solutions I would be giving I who work with the farmers.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We need to generate voices of the victims, of the farmers, of the right people. Yes, food rights activists in 1 minute.
The private sector. Working with the private sector. Now the driver of the decisions that are happening in the food system, and is one party that we have not worked with aggressively. So we need to bring the private sector to the social tables that are discussing food, such that they could responsibly invest and give people, the consumers, the safe, the nutritious and the health diets they need, that they invest in some health value chains, the diverse value chains. The value chains that the private sector is investing in are very narrow compared to what the Africa food system provides to address hunger and malnutrition. So my next move, the private sector.
Thank you very much. Yes, Mr. Chimera, consumer rights.
Yeah, one of the things that not doing seriously is by shying away. All I'm doing seriously, shying away to talk about the issues in these shrinking spaces. And that is to increase talking about the vagaries that are affecting consumers. The other thing that is not being done and which can help and which is available are the appropriate technologies that will go into producing and bring about a change in food systems. Then the last one is not doing that aggressive campaign on one driver, the farm gate prices are incentivized to incentivize the farmers.
Yes.
So today, the ping pong of commodity prices at the farm gate are discouraging agricultural production. So that is one other thing that isn't being done today very aggressively, that we need to do aggressively, and it will be done very well if we bring the private sector onto the table. Could you pay the requisite price to improve the welfare of the farmer? An improved welfare of the farmer is an improved welfare of the nation.
Thank you so much. And also managing the middlemen. But wait for the
private sector.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, just one small thing that I've remembered
Yes.
that I want to do next is mobilizing and organizing the voice of the woman in the food system.
Thank you.
That
Sorry.
one we need to be
Yes.
organized.
Thank you very much. Maureen.
Okay, thank you. Yes, what do you think you're doing? That For example, the market garden application that we created as Institute for Social Transformation, enabling women, market women to sell online. So we are trying to see that we can now loop it to the rural women farmers so that they can sell directly to the market woman to avoid the issues of the middlemen. So we need to scale up the market garden application. So that is what we're
Thank you so much. We're going to our next question, Paul. We can just put the microphone where it's very close, Mr. Chimera. Okay, let's get ready. What signals would you look for as signs of progress that we are headed on a more productive path to ending hunger? What signals would you look for as signs of progress that we are headed on a more productive path to ending hunger? In 1 minute.
Okay. I would like to say most of the signals we have already talked about them.
Yes.
Social improvement of the food producers. When they start seeing their livelihood changing, if a farmer could be getting, this is where I challenge the agriculture economists. We can get a tariff for electricity, but we get to know that a farmer buys inputs at this cost, weeds at this cost, harvests at this cost, but we cannot come up with a tariff or a price that is requisite for their efforts. So once I see that social transformation, livelihood improvement, when a farmer can do some saving, take care of their health without begging, there I would see some indicators. And when I see consumers accessing healthy diets, when the food they buy, they don't waste it and it is not lost because it is safe, then I would see that improvement. So the socio-economic transformation, livelihood, health of the both farmers and consumers, and getting a decent income, those would be some aspects.
Thank you very much, Agnes Chirabo.
Okay.
Signals for progress.
Number one, the streamlined policy, legal and institutional framework on food and nutrition in the country at national and local level. Then 2 is the civic consciousness of the populace on the issues of food. In the public, you know, when we are having our break tea, Mariam told me, keep quiet first and we enjoy our food. So when I'm looking to that time when there is that civic consciousness, that we go to such places like where we are and we are determining our menu based on what we believe in, but also even the hotel predetermining the menu, start seeing some of the foods dropping off the menu, seeing food labeling becoming very significant more than road signs. You know, that civic conscious, and lastly, the improved well-being of the actors in the food system, especially in the lower levels of the food system, the producers of our food. When they get celebrated and they are happy, then I'll know more investments.
Thank you so much. Academia as a
Put it in between Ruth and you.
Maureen is ready. Maureen, are you ready? Yes, let's get academia and then we'll get.
Okay, some of the signs that would show that we are heading to improving hunger, when we get the research we've done from the books to the community.
Thank you.
Yeah, when we practice what we have found out, that will speak to the contextual issues that we have. And then we shall also be able to address policy issues that we talked about earlier, because then we have an agency that can negotiate for better policies. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Florence. Ruth, over to you.
Okay. Signals, one of them is self-sustenance of the producer farms. I started with this, and that is less dependence on external inputs and within internal, that is number one. Healthy populations.
Yes.
Healthy populations from nutrition, like COVID-19, people could have survived. Many people could have survived if they were healthy populations. That would be a very good. Then technology supporting food storage, because there is a lot of food losses in the process. So if technology can support that, that would be a good. And then action following recommendations from the producers.
Yes.
Those will be good signals to show progress.
Thank you so much. Proper post-food handling is key. Maureen? We're almost there. We are doing well.
Thank you, Mariam. For me, the signals would be many. Of course, we all know that the malnutrition levels are high, especially kids of 5 and below. So if we see that reducing greatly, I think that will show us that we are really moving forward. Then a reduced number of women dying due to malnutrition. Yes, the pregnant mothers, because we have seen them die. Yes. So if we see that reduction, then it will also show signal that things are moving. But also to see that there is food moving to those districts that have scarcity of food, that from the abundant areas to the scarce areas. I think that will also show that we are doing well. But also value addition to our products, I think, to also.
Yeah. Thank you so much. On my side, for me, the signals, if I see women accessing land, when I see the farmers having access to quality and affordable agricultural inputs, when I see for traditional food, traditional nutritious food, then I know we are headed to a right path. When I see households growing, consuming, and marketing the excess, then I know we are on the right path. Thank you very much.
But also, Mariam, the functioning food market system, the
Yes.
food trade.
Yes.
And why I'm talking about the functioning, that it is not killing the food stability and household, but it is also providing the well-being of the farmers. What is happening now? Why farmers sell everything and get hungry? It's because the market is not functioning.
Yes.
You need to sell 5 bags of maize to get 1 bar of soap.
Yes.
So what do you expect?
Exactly. So,
Yes.
and also, when we go back to more school demo gardens, and when I see more children in primary school talking about agriculture and having a nutritious meal,
Meal.
I like the words of President Adishna of the Africa Development Bank, where he says Africa should make agriculture sexy for the youth. It has to start right from nursery schools to primary schools. Yes.
Just a very quick one.
Yes, Mr. Chimera.
One of the drivers we have alluded to it, we used to, as we were growing up, we used to envy extension service providers.
Oh, yes.
We used to envy the chairpersons and the members of the cooperative
Oh, yes.
because they knew what they were earning. Today, what is really decentrifying, a border fellow will get financing before a farmer. Because a border fellow can project, a farmer
It's
can't.
cash flows.
So
Yes.
the cash flows. So the minimum price
Yes.
will be the pride of the farmer to say, I've gone to Access Finance, this is what I'm expecting in 3 months. With
Yes.
quality inputs and the minimum price,
Yes.
this is my profit.
My other critical signal is that when I see drought-prone districts having continuous access to water for production.
One other thing I need to add on, I'm sorry I've brought it in.
Yes, please.
We are forgetting one very thing, and it is coming in from Ruth,
Yes,
soil health.
yes,
Even if there is irrigation
yes,
and irrigating poor quality soil, we are wasting time. So
Yes.
regenerative agriculture with that puts back nutrients
yes.
would be a very good system.
And a good signal for the food basket, the Pearl of Africa.
We must have a basket really.
Yes,
We must
and we
see-
do
we
have
must
the
see
basket.
the-
We must retain the baskets. Thank you so much. While there appears to be widespread agreement on the root causes of hunger, conflict, climate change, poverty, and inequality, to what extent have the world's actions directly responded to these drivers? Why or why not? Give examples. While there appears to be widespread agreement on the root causes of hunger, conflict, climate change, poverty, and inequality, to what extent have the world's actions directly responded to these drivers? Why or why not? Give examples in 1 minute. Whoever is ready, start. Please.
Since the microphone is here, I'll start.
Yes, Ruth.
And the response, we'll start with the Global Summit Against Hunger.
Yes.
That's a platform already to discuss issues. So the world is ready to listen. The world is providing the platform to listen. So that is number one, the platform. So we have to use it to our best so that we are heard, so that the actors know exactly which directions to take. That's number one. Number two, provision. There's nothing that makes anyone panic like giving them numbers. And the numbers are provided every now and then. The World Food Program, FAO, they provide numbers every now and then. And us who work with farmers and the producers, once we get the numbers, it makes us panic and try to come up with solutions towards that. So provision of data every now and then is something that the world is doing. And there are so many actors fighting against hunger, so many that I can't mention now. Thank you very much.
Yes, Academia Ruth. Florence, sorry.
Thank you so much. I think I have seen several donations to improve small and medium enterprises, both in agriculture and other areas, so that people can improve their well-being. I think that is a step towards improving or addressing hunger. And then as far as climate change is concerned, I think the campaign to plant trees, the campaign to preserve the natural resources is one big discussion globally that is helping us to address climate change issues. But the question is, why do we see these effects emerging and re-emerging? Yeah. The other issue to think about is actually as a result of climate change. So we have the emerging and re-emerging diseases. Yeah. Every now and then, maybe these are also other issues that we need to look at as we discuss. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, Kirabo. 1 minute, please. We're about to end the discussion. We have
I must say that the economic system and the economic political system under which these solutions are being designed is not meant for the affected people. The macroeconomic paradigm rewards the capital, and because of that orientation, there are so many thieves that are in between the remedies that eventually, by the time the remedy reaches where the actual problem is, it is so little to bring out the impact. It is so little and very clean. It has been so sanitized in so many layers, so it is so little and very clean to create impact. So the economic political system where these remedies and solutions are being designed cannot give us the impact that we expect to have, because it is having less of the social aspect. It is more rewarding the economics and the politics than actually the people where we need impact. I don't know whether you have spoken philosophy.
Yes. You see, there is one thing that I will appreciate. Having knowledge, conceptualizing it, comprehending it, and utilizing the solutions. The global food geopolitics has not fallen in love with all of those challenges. Those challenges are money-making. They have created opportunities. So, the global food geopolitics that knows it is now in the powers in the national governments. The lobbyists fly in private jets to start discussing how to share the land, leading to land grabbing and increased conflict. So, solution, zero, because of greed. Thank you.
Maureen, our next section is going to look at the leadership that has been yes. So the pastor, you are responding, but we are about to leave. We were supposed to leave by 11. Okay, Maureen.
Knowing the problem, but what the solutions.
From the global side, what they have been able to do for us.
consensus on the problem, but we don't see the solution.
Coming from the global side.
Climate change, conflict, there is consensus that they are the drivers of hunger. But
What extent have they addressed that?
Thank
What extent have they and have they not? Examples.
Thank you. First of all, I would love to first appreciate what they have been able to do, because we can't say that they haven't done anything. They have done tremendous work to a certain extent. But nonetheless, there are also other challenges that come with the funding that they give us to do the problems that they identify for us. And then, they come up with a solution. Like we have already said, you have to first identify the problem with the beneficiaries before you get your solutions to them, because they know what the solution is. So most times we are going because they are saying there is this, and we all run, there is that. But what are we doing? For us, are we at that level of planning that we are planned, that even before the other plans come, our plans are clear? You see,
Yes.
that there is that gap.
Thank you.
Yes, for
Thank
me.
you so much. Maureen is clearly telling us that as a country, we need to have a clear agenda and stop being donor-driven and consumers other people's ideology and agenda. Thank you so much. Our next section is going to look at the leadership. And yes, the governance thing. I know you are chief executive of certain institutions. So question number one under governance is identify one organization, association, or group that you are aware of that is truly in your mind doing things differently in a way that allows them to make gains where others may not. What is unique about their approach, and why do you believe it has been successful? Identify one organization, association, or group that you are aware of that is truly in your mind, doing things differently in a way that allows them to make gains where others may not. What is unique about their approach, and why do you believe it has been successful? Quick. This should take us 2 minutes. She's ready. She's always been number one. She has the microphone. Ruth, quickly.
This is the hardest question out of the questions that you've given, but I'm going to answer it in a simple way.
Yes.
What makes them unique and why I'm going to mention them is the passion with which they feel on issues of food, on issues of hunger, on issues of rights for the producers. That's what makes them unique.
So name the organization.
And I will not name, but I will give examples. I
Yes.
can't. The list is very long. I'll
Yes.
mention some of whom are on this table.
Yes.
Yes? All of them, you've had the passion with which they are addressing the issues. But there are many others. There are many beyond 50.
There can be
So thank
100,
you very
but that
much.
specific one in Uganda, regardless of whether they're in this table or not, that one organization, that one association, that one group,
Excluding my own.
whether it's your organization, Pelham, you say Pelham,
Thank
that
you.
Pelham has done this in land and ecological things,
Yes.
and we believe we are that organization.
Okay.
Thank you.
So keeping constant, the reason why is the passion with which Pelham drives issues of hunger, issues of solving farmer issues on land, issues, seed rights, ensuring self-sustenance, like I said, promotion of agroecology, the passion with which the organization pushes these issues. Pelham is one that is really doing well in this area. So thank you very much.
And what is unique about you, Pelham?
Unique.
Yes, I know you have said, okay.
Yes.
So you have actually said it, your approach.
The approach and the passion
Thank you.
towards the cause.
Thank you so much. Nutrition.
Academia. This time around, I'm going to talk about a project that is under School of Public Health.
Yes.
It's a collaboration between Europe countries and communities in Mukono district.
Yes.
They have been able to address cardiovascular diseases. These are diseases that are diet related, right?
Yes.
And so the approach is that they went to the farmers and first studied what the farmers eat, how they behave, their healthcare systems, and then they came up with a solution together. So the community in Mukono behaves differently from the community in the UK and also the community in Sweden. So, but what happened is that each site came up with solutions involving the people that are affected by cardiovascular diseases. And so currently, the proportion of people with those cardiovascular diseases has reduced in Mukono, the sites, they were in Buikwe and some other sites. And then the people who are affected have taken it up upon themselves, like the people with the disease. They are going out to educate other people in the community to prevent them facing a similar situation. That is called implementation science in academia.
Thank you.
So you have the solution, but you use the people to also implement the solution as the researcher picks data to be able to also teach other communities.
Yes.
Yeah.
The people-centered approach is
Yes.
clearly coming here. Food rights activists.
Yeah. Even when I'm given a chance to choose again,
Yes.
I'll choose Food Rights Alliance. And the reason being that we have championed the agenda of food, hunger and malnutrition in Uganda and in the region. And we have been able to bring out the political, economic issues of hunger and malnutrition that have been rare, bringing the issues of food and hunger to be debated in the decision-making tables than being field issues. That is one of the unique approaches. But the other unique approach is the interconnectedness of food and health, food and natural resources, food and wash, food and transport and communication. Those so many nexuses that we have created, but also the multi-sectoral, multi-stakeholder approach to ending hunger, bringing together the state and non-state actors to agree and build the consensus on this. Those are the unique approaches that I did believe that they have given us the leverage that we have in this, that has given FRA the leverage it has on the platform of ending hunger and malnutrition.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chimera, what would the chairperson of the FRA
In half a minute. Still, if I would be choosing, I would continuously choose FRA that I'm leading. And adding on the uniqueness, it's the membership that is on every corner of the nation. Then the other uniqueness, irrespective of talking of transport, it is from farmer to consumer. So the whole holistic. Then the other aspect, she has brought it out, bringing different stakeholders, because all of us here on the table, when we like bringing together the likely-minded organization, individuals, to engage locally, nationally, regionally, and globally. Then lastly, lastly, picking issues through membership at the local level. The farm plan model is something that has really talked and changed livelihood and so forth. But I would say we are all champions on this table. And I would vote them if they would allow me to pick 5. But as of now, I'll pick the institution I had. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Maureen, one.
Mariam,
You don't have to pick yours. You have to pick.
whenever you get to me and you give me that 1 minute, you intimidate me. I feel like, oh my God, why? But anyway, it's okay. Yeah, true. Like others have, of course, said, I cannot leave out my organization because I know what we do.
Yes.
And Institute for Social Transformation, we are known for our methodology that we use, which is training for transformation methodology, that handles, for example, a woman in totality. As you don't look at an individual in isolation of health, issues to do with their GBV alone, economics, empowerment in that angle, but we look at the total woman, her well-being. That with this, we are advancing so many things when we handle women. Yes.
Thank you very much. Where does accountability for ending hunger lie now? where should it lie, and how can it be strengthened where there's accountability?
And